Hey crew, it's Pitt and I'm back with some more Esoterica. Today we are diving back into the works of Charles Haanel. This is the Master Key System. We are on part 7. We are reading along and discussing as we go along the various points that are brought to light by the text. It is not the format for everybody, but some people seem to find enjoyment in it, so you are more than welcome to tag along as we continue our exploration. Before we begin, however, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in the terminology, there will be several playlists linked in the corner above, in the box below, along with the original source material so that you can get a better understanding of who I am and why I say the things that I do. A particular note today will probably be the Infinite Integrations playlist, where we talk about most of these items in greater detail. With that being said, we are going to dive in and continue our exploration of the Master Key System with Part 7. This part tells of a method by which you may construct the mold or model from which your future will emerge. It tells how you may make it grand and beautiful. It explains that you are not limited as to cost or material, that no one can place any limitation on it but yourself. It explains that in the construction of this model, there is much work to be done, that no one can do the work but yourself, but it tells you what to do and how to do it. It suggests methods and plans, which, if faithfully and persistently carried out, will result in conditions exactly in accordance with the purpose and thought. It tells of millions of faithful helpers, which will come to your aid if you are faithful in your work, and it tells why some who were apparently faithful, endeavoring to realize their ideal, seem to fail. It is sometimes just as important to know what not to do as what to do. We will deal with those particular topics as we go along, I am sure. Introduction, Part 7. Through all the ages, man has believed in an invisible power, through which and by which all things have been created and are continually being recreated. We may personalize this power and call it God, or we may think of it as the essence or spirit, which permeates all things, but in either case the effect is the same. God and spirit are actually the same thing. Now, the terminology that you use may be different, but if you are envisioning a sky daddy sitting on a throne waiting for you to mess up so that he can judge you and condemn you to burn forever, then you've really got the conceptualization wrong. There are various reasons for saying that, but most of them are contained in 161 videos where we go through the Bible painstakingly, in great detail. We do word studies, we go back and see the original intent behind it, and what is commonly known these days is not exactly what is contained in those books. And the objective way that I read it, that is subjective to me, but I believe it was objective, clarifies that in great detail. The concepts that we hold today are not what was held back in the day of Moses or any of the prophets. There was no concept of hell, for instance. There was no eternal damnation. And so many of the things that we take as true from that have actually been misconstrued. But God is the Spirit, right? We deal with the number 1, 3, and 8. That is the number of manifestation. 1 is the One. It is God. It is the overarching power of everything. 3 is the Trinity. It is the body or the temple. It is the soul, which is the individualized piece of divinity, which is you and makes the decisions for the meat suit. And it is the Spirit, which is the omnipresent everything. God is me and he is you. He is the space between me and you and the space between me and you. The space between the space between me and you. He is everything you can see and everything you can't see. The Spirit is the part that allows things to happen. When you make the decision for the temple, what actually happens is the Spirit allows that to happen. It is the creative force, both the grounding and the positive. There are 2 creative forces. And then the 8 is the 7 internal chakras and the 1 external chakra, which you can balance and make work for you. That is how manifestation works. And if you would like a greater explanation of that, and it's not contained in the rest of this, the Infinite Integrations playlist will get you there. So far as the individual is concerned, the objective, the physical, the visible, is the personal, that which can be cognized by the senses. It consists of body, brain, and nerves. The subjective is the spiritual, the invisible, the impersonal. The personal is conscious because it is a personal entity, the impersonal, being the same in kind and quality as all other being, is not conscious of itself and has therefore been termed the unconscious or the subconscious. The impersonal or spiritual, being a part or one with the source and origin of all power, can necessarily exercise no such choice, but on the contrary, it has infinite resources at its command. It can, and does, bring about results by methods concerning which the human or individual mind can have no possible conception. You will, therefore, see that it is your privilege to depend upon the human will, with all its limitations and misconceptions, or you may utilize the potentialities of infinity by making use of the subconscious mind. Here, then, is the scientific explanation of the wonderful power which has been put within your control. If you but understand, appreciate, and recognize it. One method of consciously utilizing this omnipotent power is outlined in Part 7. Part 7. Visualization is the process of making mental images, and the image is the mold or model which will serve as a pattern from which your future will emerge. And here is where we pause and do the meme, right? Aphantasia exists. Now, I am recovering from that particular thing. But what aphantasia is the inability to make mental images. For all of my life, that was me. I was not able to close my eyes and visualize any particular thing on purpose. All I could see was a field of black and white floating like static on a television. Through intentionality, I was able to clear the field, which was to make a balance of that black and white and make them perfectly even and not moving and swirling around in the various things that they did naturally. I was unable to visualize anything. But I have been able to manifest. I have manifested healing within myself. That is the example I use most often because it is a readily available one. You can go back to the beginning of my playlists, any of them, and you can see that I can't talk in the manner that I am doing right now. I had to hold my voice way high. I could not speak longer than 15 minutes when I began this. It was a process that was beginning. I have been healed through the power of manifestation. I have been able to manipulate the electromagnetic forces of creation, which is the Holy Spirit, into healing myself. That is why we are on this particular journey. I am relaying the information to you, and these studies bring to light the topics so that we can discuss them, and I can clarify for you how I have done that. But it was not by making mental images. Now, I am sure that that is a very handy tool. I am hoping that I will be able to manifest that, and it is happening. I have been able, in the last few weeks, in my meditative practices, for the first time in my life, for the first time in my life, I am able to change the colors, right? I can visualize red. That is a new thing for me. I am able to change the red into orange, and then into yellow, and then into green as it proceeds up the chakras. That is brand new for me. But it is a tool that is proving to be quite handy. There's a lot of pollen again today. But this process is not reliant upon visualization. People who can visualize assume that it is, but it isn't. I am sure that it is a handy tool, and I am overcoming it. And for the first time last night, I was able to see images when I closed my eyes. Although I cannot create them myself as of yet, I was able to see things that weren't a thing in my life before, right? I have never been able to do that. It is brand new. I have healed myself. I healed my throat, right? We talk about I had a cyst in my throat. I was unable to talk. It was on my vocal cords. It stretched out my vocal cords. It was not possible for me to talk to you like this a year ago, 2 years ago. I've healed my shoulder. I had 2 surgeries on this shoulder. I only had 80% of my functionality in it, and now I have 100%. These are things that have happened to me through this process, and I am relaying to you how I did it. And it was not due to visualization. So if you have aphantasia or some of the variants thereof, that doesn't restrict you from doing this. That is why I'm pointing this out right here. If you can visualize, that's great. It is a handy tool. Hopefully, you understand that it is more the concept behind the visualization that makes a difference. And if you can focus that, it doesn't matter if you can actually see the images or not. And then, so, while this is a handy study, it is based upon something that is not necessarily true, right? He is assuming that the visualization process is required, and it's not. Much like people think that the death of Jesus was a requirement for salvation, and it's not. You can go back to the Bible study. The Unconventional Bible Study will be linked above. And you can see, as we go through those 161 videos, exactly why I am saying that. There was never a required sacrifice for you to be saved from your sins. All that was required was for you to turn to God and ask for forgiveness. In the same way that that was not a requirement, visualization is not a requirement. It is not something that you absolutely have to have. It is merely something that makes it easier to do. All right, back to the text. Make the pattern clear and make it beautiful. Do not be afraid. Make it grand. Remember that no limitation can be placed upon you by anyone but yourself. You are not limited as to cost or material. Draw on the infinite for your supply constructed in your imagination. It will have to be there before it will ever appear anywhere else. And again, that is patently untrue. It does not have to be there before it will appear anywhere else. You can hold just the conceptualization of the thing. You do not have to actually see the thing in your mind's eye. Make the image clear and clean cut. Hold it firmly in the mind, and you will gradually and constantly bring the thing nearer to you. You can be what you will to be. This is another psychological fact which is well known, but unfortunately, reading about it will not bring about any result which you may have in mind. It will not even help you to form the mental image, much less bring it into manifestation. Work is necessary, labor, hard, mental labor, the kind of effort which so few are willing to put forth. And we're going to pause here and talk about the necessary steps, right? Visualization is not a necessary step. The necessary steps are prayer, fasting, and meditation. Prayer is you talking to God. It is saying, I need this. It is saying, I am grateful for this. When you are talking to God and actively directing your thoughts, that is prayer. Fasting is depriving the body of nourishment so that you can receive better the instructions that are to come. It is bringing you more in alignment with the vital needs of the body. By depriving the necessary food sources, you are opening up other channels of reception. And then meditation is the quietness and the stillness of the mind. It is no active thoughts. That doesn't mean that thoughts won't pop in, but you are to recognize them and dismiss them. The meditative process is the process by which the light is revealed to you. The light, fall back to the Golden Flower playlist, but the light is a force. It is the creative force. It is part of manifestation, but it is a two-part force. There is the bright golden light that is described by the golden flowers, but it is also the darker negative forces. And by negative, that's not in the normal conceptualization of positive and negative. There are two different paths, right? There are, two different channels of energy is the best way to put it. One is the bright, white, creative, penetrative, masculine force of creation. And then the other one is the darker, right? It is generally conceptualized as black, grounding, feminine, creative powers of creation. You have access to both of them, and it is vitally necessary in order for manifestation to happen to utilize those. The light is the first one that you're going to see. It is bright. It is overwhelming. If you are sitting in a dark room and you do meditation, that light will appear and it is bright. Like your eyes are closed. You're in complete darkness. And suddenly there is an overwhelming light that is swirling around, and it's like coming in and out, and it's hard to even really look at. It hurts your eyes to look at. That is the light that's being talked about. You are to not even in the beginning try to do anything with that. You're just simply to observe it, to see that it is. Eventually, once you can quiet your mind, that light will still. It will become the field of your vision. It is bright and golden and overwhelming. It is more white than gold, but white and gold are pretty close to the same thing. Then you can become aware of the grounding force. The grounding force is a darker force, but that's not negative or evil or anything of that nature. It is simply part of the creation process. It is the grounding of that light. One of those in Masonry is called Boaz, and the other one is called Jachin, and they don't even understand that. I can fall back to a different study for that one. I forget which one it was. It's in the Infinite, or it's in the this playlist, the one Esoterica. And so you can raise the one from down, which is the darker one, and you can pull down the one from above, which is the lighter one, and you are to find the balance in that as you go through your stack. The stack is what I call the chakras because of the MBTI stuff that I do, which also helps with this. It's not necessary, but it helps. The necessary part of this is the prayer, fasting, and meditation. Learning to work with these forces is the process by which manifestation happens. He has part of that under control, but it seems like, so far in this study, he doesn't have it under, like he doesn't understand the fullness of it. I say that and it sounds awfully prideful, right? This has been around for a while. Some people have found effectiveness in it. Well, you can find effectiveness in something and not be using it correctly. If you would like a greater understanding of that, check out the Infinite Integrations playlist. It is a process by which I unfold this, and I'm probably going to have to, like, this is getting added to it, but there will be more videos coming now that we're getting better understandings of how to express that. But you can definitely get started in the Infinite Integrations playlist, and it will work you through how to do this. I have effected change in my life internally and to a small measure externally, and hopefully that brought a little bit of clarification. But the prayer, fasting, and meditation is the part that most people are not willing to put forth, right? That is the effort that must go in. You must spend the time in this. If you don't, then it will not happen. All three of those are a necessary part of this. If you are diabetic, take care in your fasting, right? If you have blood sugar issues, take care in your fasting. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do them. Spend the time. Be grateful. Start off with gratefulness. Start off with prayer. Ask for the things that you want, and then sit in the silence. Allow Source, Creator, God, however you want to call it, to speak to you. It will happen. You have to learn to recognize that still small voice. That still small voice will bring correction. That correction is letting you know how to bring your chakras into alignment with actual creation. And then you can begin the process of actually manifesting things. Back to the text. The first step is idealization. It is likewise the most important step because it is the plan on which you are going to build. It must be solid. It must be permanent. The architect, when he plans a grand building, has every line and detail pictured in advance. The engineer, when he spans a chasm, first ascertains the strength requirements of 1,000,000 separate parts. Right. And again, that is mostly true, right? You don't have to visualize, it doesn't have to be perfect. It is the concept which you are holding. But you should know what your desire should be, right? I want this specific result. Now, I erased it, but if you fall back to yesterday's video, we talked about the triangle of opportunity. And there are 3 points into manifestation: the how, the what, and the when. You only should be controlling 1 point of that triangle, keeping open the funnel of opportunity. If you're trying to do something, figure out which one of those points you want to do. If you have a deadline, then it's going to be the when. If you have a specific job you want, then it's going to be the what. If you have a general, I need something like this, it's going to be the how. And so fall back to the other video for a better explanation of the triangle, but there is 3 points to it that you need to be aware of, but only try to control one of those. When you decide which one of those it is, that is what you are making this step. You are holding that point in your mind. That is the conceptualization or the visualization that you are going to need to affect the manifestation. That comes after the prayer, fasting, and meditation. Now, it must be solid, it must be permanent. That is mostly true. As we have discussed before, you must remember that sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is not now. Sometimes the answer is yes. When it's yes, that's really easy, right? You see it and you're like, yeah. When it's not now, that's a little bit harder to get, right? It's a little bit harder to accept. You want it now. But sometimes it's not beneficial for you to get it right now. Sometimes it needs to come a little bit later. Sometimes the answer is going to be no. Sometimes the thing which you desire will actually lead you into destruction. When it says it must be solid, he is not allowing the room for that no. You need to allow the room for that no. You want the thing. That is great. I try to hold on very loosely to my manifestations, right? I want to heal my body. I didn't really say I want to heal my throat. I say I want abundance. I don't say that I want money or anything of that nature. You can do that. That's holding on to a different point than me, but it will still happen if it is meant to happen. Sometimes the answer is going to be no. Even if the answer is no, you have to maintain your faith. Even if the answer is not now, you have to maintain your faith. But allow that it can be a no. If it becomes apparent to you that it is a no, you need to change it, right? It does no good, and by that it has both meanings of that. It does no good to hold on to something that you know is a no. The best example of this is, because everybody has probably had it, a relationship that is not exactly beneficial for you. There is somebody that you dated once upon a time who was not aligned with your best interests. And you really wanted that to work out. You really thought, this is love. This should be it forever. But then it turns out that they were really not that into you, or they really were trying to use you for your money, or they were really just using you for emotional support, or they were just using you to make someone else jealous. All of those are reasons why it would be no. And it is for your benefit that that answer is no. Well, if you hold on to, I want this person, despite the fact that you know that they are doing these things, then you are still going to manifest them in your life. You are going to hold on to them, and they will be toxic. Learn to recognize the no and to accept it. It is a vital part of manifestation. And again, that is something that he is not getting correct. At least so far in the study, right? We're only on 7 out of 24, so there may be something farther along that allows for that. But so far, he has not allowed for the no in this study at all. They see the end before a single step is taken. So you are to picture in your mind what you want. You are sowing the seed, but before sowing any seed, you want to know what the harvest is to be. This is idealization. If you are not sure, return to the chair daily until the picture becomes plain. It will gradually unfold. First, the general plan will be dim, but it will take shape. The outline will take form, then the details. You will gradually develop the power by which you will be enabled to formulate plans which will, eventually, materialize into the objective world. You will come to know what the future holds for you. Now this, I'm going to give a personal example, right? If you've been with the channel for a while, you will understand this, but if not, you may not, right? This may be your first encounter with me. This channel did not start with these studies. This channel started with reaction videos, right? Well, actually, it started with the MBTI videos, and then the reaction videos kind of unfolded as a tool, right? I was on a search to heal myself, and so I reworked the MBTI system. It is not like anything you've ever known if you know MBTI. I changed the definitions and how it works. And so through that process, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this, right? And it just so happens that today, the 23rd, y'all will see this tomorrow, but today, on the 23rd, this is the day I started this channel. 4 years ago. And I started using someone else's MBTI system, and it didn't work. And so I took a break, and then I came back, and I was doing this, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to get more views. I'm going to try something different. And the reaction videos was something that I watched. I watched a lot of them. And I was like, you know what? I can probably do that. And so I tried it. That process began the unfolding of what this channel is currently, because through that process, we talked about anxiety and depression. We talked about all of the things that are holding you back, the addictions and the sexual proclivities, all of the things that are really holding you back from progressing. And then that led into the Bible study. The Bible study unfolded to me how very wrong I was holding all of those stories in my mind. I had to take off the glasses of predetermination and someone else being sacrificed for my sins. And that process led into starting these studies. This has grown into the major focus of the channel now, because I find that this is going to be more effective. I'm in a different place than I was when I began this channel, like completely. I couldn't talk when I began this channel, really. And now I can, because of the studies that we have been doing. The general outline was, I'm going to do the MBTI stuff to help people to get a grip on their mind. And that led into the reaction videos, which are not like normal reaction videos, right? I don't deal with the mainstream artist almost at all. It was all independent artists, and it was all real issues. It was all talking about how to become better mentally. That has led into becoming better spiritually. That was the general plan, becoming further clear over time. And the more that I embrace this particular path, where I am shitting on a whole lot of people's beliefs, the better I am becoming, right? I am becoming healed in very real ways through this process. I have manifested through the things that I described to you, healing within myself. I am trying earnestly to relay as clearly as possible that these things are possible, that you can do them, but it takes these specific steps. These studies are to clarify that, right? This is me talking about the issues that are brought by the text in the same way that I did with the reaction videos. When they were talking about struggling with addiction, I could talk about that because I struggled with addiction. When they talked about struggling with depression, I could identify with it. I struggled with depression. I don't anymore. Those things are pretty much gone from my life. And it is through this process. This whole thing that I'm doing right here is just to reinforce to you that it can happen, but it may not be the way that you expect it to be. Things will change over time, and you need to be flexible in that. Keep your general plan, right? My general plan the whole time was to help people. It has been, and it will continue to be, to help people to get better grips upon themselves, to do the things that they are called to do. And the further I walk along this particular path, the better my life becomes, right? The ability to talk, the ability to sing again, that is, I cannot tell you, I cannot express to you how great that is, how that change happened in my life. I want you to feel the same thing for your goals and your dreams. And so that's why I do this. And you will come to know what the future holds for you, right? I'm still unsure. I have my own plans. I have a video game that I'm making. I write music, not music, but like songs, because I can sing, but I can't play any instruments. But there are several steps. There are a lot of things involved in this. My end goal here, the future, what it's going to hold for me is a school. I'm going to teach this to people in real time, right? All of this will always be free, and there will never be anything that I teach that will not be something you can freely get, because that is my goal, to make it freely available. The school and the classes, that's not necessarily going to be free, because there will be other people involved, and there will be bills and salaries and benefits, but that's all part of it. Everything that I am doing is directed towards helping people. So while I do not quite know what the future will hold, I have the general plan. I have the general concept. Everything is pointed towards the school. Everything is pointed towards helping people. That is my general plan. Back to the text. Then comes the process of visualization. You must see the picture more and more complete, and must is, again, not a necessary word there. See the detail, and as the details begin to unfold, the ways and means for bringing it into manifestation will develop. One thing will lead to another. Thought will lead to action. Action will develop methods. Methods will develop friends, and friends will bring about circumstances. And finally, the third step, or materialization, will have been accomplished. I am still in the process of this, right? I am calling the crew. That is one of my manifestations. I am calling the people who are core believers in betterment. You don't necessarily have to align completely with me spiritually. My wife is a Christian. That is perfectly fine. I am not. That is perfectly fine too. As long as you are willing to work, I am fine with that. I am calling the crew, the people who are on the specific mission that I am, right, to better mankind, to give away this information as freely as possible, to be as clear and understanding as possible. And as of yet, not many of them have actually materialized, but I don't doubt that they will. I consider all of this prep work for the further mission that is to come, because one day I'm going to be out there among people. The developing friends and family, I have several friends that are on this channel. We just talk a lot. Chris, Runar, Shannon, like we talk in the comments quite often. Like Chris is in the Discord more than I am, right? I'm hardly ever in Discord. It's terrible. But one thing will lead to another. The doors will open. Opportunities will present themselves. You have to learn to identify those opportunities and to grab them. I have no doubt that eventually the congregant of the crew, right, the core crew, like everybody who watches is a member of the crew. Everybody who subscribes to the channel, you're a member of the crew. That is true. But not everybody wants to be involved to the deeper level. The core crew will be the people who want to be involved on the deeper level, who are truly seeking these things with diligence, who want this in their life. That will be the core crew. They will show up, however many it may be. It may be 1, it may be 5,000, it may be 5 million. I don't know. I want several different schools by other people, right? All of us aligned for the same thing, but everybody doing their own thing, not necessarily under my direction. I want people to be self-sovereign and to do these things in that way. So I am bringing about the friends, but the friends haven't been part of my manifestation process. They have helped guide me. The ones I've met on this channel have helped guide me. They have shown me things that have helped me to develop me into the me that I am now, and I am happy with that. I am further refining myself as we go along with this. I got a whole list of books here to look up and do this with. All of this is going to be happening, but the materialization is already happening. I am already healing myself. I am already bringing abundance into my life. I am already in that process. It is separate from anyone else showing up. So again, this is true, but it is also not required. Right? The process of visualization is probably important, but not necessary. Aphantasia exists, and I have been able to do it with aphantasia. Having friends and family involved is probably beneficial, but again, I don't have that. Right? There's no real world people here. I have people online, right? That is different. I wish it wasn't, right? But it is. As much as I love hearing back from you, as much as I like us conversing in the comments, it's not the same as a face-to-face discussion. It's not the same as us eating bread and talking about the future. That will come. I'm just waiting on it. That's part of the manifestation process, learning to wait on it. Back to the text. This is going to be a long one today, huh? We all recognize that the universe must have been thought into shape before it could ever have become a material fact. And if we are willing to follow along the lines of the great architect of the universe, there's some Mason talk, we shall find our thoughts taking form, just as the universe took concrete form. It is the same mind operating through the individual. There is no difference in kind or quality. The only difference is one of degree. And again, this is in part true and in part not. You are the individualized piece of divinity that is making the decisions for the temple. You existed somewhere prior to being here. You will exist somewhere after being here. And you are here as a voluntary experience to learn lessons. Those lessons sometimes are great, and sometimes they're pretty terrible. You will not necessarily align yourself with positive lessons. Some people will never learn their lessons. They have a different mind. True, it is their spark of divinity, so it is part of God, because everything is part of God. But it's a different direction from yours. It is a different thing than yours. Everybody has the freedom of will. They have the freedom of choice, and they can choose to act negatively. So there is a difference in kind or quality. There is a difference in kind or quality. Choosing to align yourself with the betterment of mankind is completely different than choosing to align yourself with the betterment of yourself. That is a difference in kind and quality. The architect visualizes his building. He sees it as he wishes it to be. His thought becomes a plastic mold from which the building will eventually emerge, a high one or a low one, a beautiful one or a plain one. His vision takes form on paper, and eventually the necessary material is utilized and the building stands complete. The inventor visualizes his idea in exactly the same manner. For instance, Nikola Tesla, he with the giant intellect, one of the greatest inventors of all ages, the man who has brought forth the most amazing realities, always visualizes his inventions before attempting to work them out. He does not rush to embody them in form and then spend his time in correcting defects. Having first built up the idea in his imagination, he holds it there as a mental picture, to be reconstructed and improved by his thought. In this way, he writes in the Electrical Experimenter, I am able to rapidly develop and perfect a conception without touching anything. When I have gone so far as to embody in the invention every possible improvement I can think of, and see no fault anywhere, I put into concrete form the product of my brain. Invariably, my device works as I conceived it should. In 20 years, there has not been a single exception. And again, while visualization is a handy tool, it is not necessary for manifestation. If you can conscientiously follow these directions, you will develop faith. The kind of faith that is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You will develop confidence, the kind of confidence that leads to endurance and courage. You will develop the power of concentration, which will enable you to exclude all thoughts except the ones which are associated with your purpose. That is true. The law is that thought will manifest in form, and only one who knows how to be the divine thinker of his own thoughts can ever take a master's place and speak with authority. That is true too, right? Thought will manifest in form. You are in charge of where your destiny goes. There are certain bottlenecks that will appear because you have agreed to lessons to learn while you are here. So sometimes it will be contrary to your thought. Remember that. But for the most part, you get to decide, right? You get to say yes or no for all kinds of things. Am I going to eat this breakfast or that breakfast? That is your choice. Am I going to take this job or that job? That is your choice. Am I going to say that this is going to be a great day or a terrible day? That is your choice. And that will become, right? If you wake up and you say it's going to be a terrible day, it's a Monday. I hate Mondays. It's going to be a terrible day. Guess what? You got a terrible day coming, regardless of what happens. But if you wake up and you say, it's Monday, I get to go charge and attack the world today. It's going to be a wonderful day. No matter how much shit is thrown at you, none of it is going to stick. You are going to have a great day. You create your reality in both large and small parts, with the exception of the bottlenecks, right? Some lessons you have to learn. Grief, sadness, hurt, despair, those are all lessons. You are meant to learn something from them. Joy, happiness, exaltation, ecstasy, those are all lessons as well, and there is something to learn from them. Sometimes the bottleneck is going to happen no matter what. You cannot manifest someone to stay alive, right? That is not going to be a thing. But outside of that type of a situation, you are in control of your life, especially here in the United States, right? Here you get to decide much more than they do in Tanzania or in South Africa. And those are just randomly pulled out places, right? That is not anything. And so you get to decide your life. You get to say which direction you want to go in. Make sure that you are doing that with intentionality. And then you will learn to take the master's place, right? Not the master, but the master. Clearness and accuracy are obtained only by repeatedly having the image in mind. And again, the image is not necessary. Each repeated action renders the image more clear and accurate than the preceding. And in proportion to the clearness and accuracy of the image, will the outward manifestation be. You must build it firmly and securely in your mental world, the world within, before it can take form in the world without. And you can build nothing of value, even in the mental world, unless you have the proper material. When you have the material, you can build anything you wish, but make sure of your material. You cannot make broadcloth from shoddy. And again, when he's talking about visualization, just understand that visualization is not necessary. Conceptualization is, right? Saying that you want the thing is just as important as holding it in your mind. This material will be brought out by millions of silent mental workers and fashioned into the form of the image which you have in mind. I don't know about this one, right? There are entities. I talk about them often. There are positive and negative entities. They are there. I don't deal with them for the large part. I am beginning to open up to that. It is something much like me healing the aphantasia. That is through the power of God. Don't get it twisted. Like the healing in my throat and the healing in my shoulder, I am healing my mind, and I am able to visualize for the first time in my life. I am 47 years old. This is something new to me, something that has never happened before. It is something that is happening. But I don't know that there's a whole bunch of workers making that happen. It's possible, I guess, but I am not intentionally seeking out those entities to help me. Right? I go directly to the source, and he has been helping me. The healing has come through the Holy Spirit. And so, while it is entirely possible that there are positively aligned entities, there are also negative aligned entities. And the negative aligned entities can deceive you. Not every blessing is a blessing. Sometimes it is a curse. And if you don't believe that, ask anybody who's been to a Diddy party or to Epstein's Island. Just how much blessings come from that. It may seem like a blessing. You get the contract. You get to sing. People get to hear you. You get to perform. You got money. But is it a blessing? I think not. Think of it. You have over 5 million of these mental workers, ready and in active use. Brain cells, they are called. Okay, now that is a wild extrapolation. Besides this, there is another reserve force of at least an equal number, ready to be called into action at the slightest need. Your power to think, then, is almost unlimited. And this means that your power to create the kind of material which is necessary to build for yourself any kind of environment which you desire is practically unlimited. I don't know that I'm going to conceptualize my brain cells as individual entities working for me. It may be true, right? In the theory of spiritual evolution, it is at least partly true. But that is a step too far for me, right? I am in control of this temple. This temple is made up by God and given to me to pilot through this 5D space. He has given me the free will in my soul to make the decisions for it and to enact it out. I don't believe that these entities are necessary to accomplish that. I have not sought the help of Michael or Gabriel or any of the called entities because of the chance for deception, right? You may call on an entity thinking that it's a positive one and something negative shows up and imitates the positive. Your power to think is not reliant upon another entity. I don't see that. I could be wrong. I am willing to accept correction if we can prove that the brain cells are individual entities working for something. Then I will accept it, but I don't find that to be necessary any more than I find the visualization to be necessary or for an animal sacrifice to be necessary. In addition to these millions of mental workers, you have billions of mental workers in the body, every one of which is endowed with sufficient intelligence to understand and act upon any message or suggestion given. These cells are all busy creating and recreating the body, but in addition to this, they are endowed with psychic activity, whereby they can attract to themselves the substance necessary for perfect development. I don't find that to be entities. Now, the part that is calling, that is the chakras, right? You taking the Holy Spirit and moving it through your chakras to the appropriate location is allowing the Spirit to do that. Maybe the Spirit is made up of these entities. I don't necessarily think it's the cells. Much like the brain cells, the body cells are under the direction of the temple, not necessarily you. And like when you decide to make your fingers move, you're not doing that. That is the Holy Spirit allowing that to happen. You make the decision for it, and then the Spirit enacts it. It is the same in manifestation. You make the decision for it, and the Spirit enacts it. Not necessarily any other entity, right? You can say that the Spirit is an entity, and that to me is God, and so okay. But individualized entities is a little bit harder of a concept for me, and it doesn't have to be for you. They do this by the same law and in the same manner that every form of life attracts to itself the necessary material for growth. The oak, the rose, the lily, all require certain material for their most perfect expression, and they secure it by silent demand. The law of attraction. The most certain way for you to secure what you require for your most complete development. And, well, once again, that is the chakras, right? The electromagnetic forces that hold you together. The base, the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, the crown, and the divine are all doing that. And you moving your consciousness to those specific locations and allowing the Holy Spirit to do its thing is what allows it to happen. I'm sure that is the mechanics for an oak tree, or a rose, or a lily, They are doing the same thing. They are using their electromagnetics to attract the thing that they need. Like attracts like. That is a fundamental law of creation. Make the mental image. Make it clear, distinct, perfect. Hold it firmly. The ways and means will develop. Supply will follow the demand. You will be led to do the right thing at the right time and in the right way. Earnest desire will bring about confident expectation, and this, in turn, must be reinforced by firm demand. These three cannot fail to bring about attainment, because the earnest desire is the feeling, the confident expectation is the thought, and the firm demand is the will. And, as we have seen, feeling gives vitality to thought, and the will holds it steadily until the law of growth brings it into manifestation. All right, so the will, right? The will is the vigorous use of the energy. It is making the decision and then allowing the energy to manifest and be used. I say when I am doing my daily walk, right, I say prayers for all of you, and then I do my manifestation process, and it is asking God to bring into my life my greater purpose in a state that I am embracing my greater purpose with vigor and enthusiasm. And then when I do that, I push. Now, this may be a little bit too much for some of you, but if you want to go back through the Infinite Integrations playlist, we talk about this in more detail. But you can flex each one of the chakras. The easiest one for you to conceptualize is going to be the base, because it is at the bottom. It rests at the very bottom of your spinal column. It extends little feelers out into the various parts below that, your legs and your feet. But it rests at your base, right about the top side, the spot of your butthole. If you act like you're pinching off a turd, you're flexing that, right? You can do that intentionally. You can concentrate your energy into that spot and then flex it. When you flex it, that is pushing the energy into the position that you want, and you can conceptualize the direction. When I am doing my walk, I use that to pull up and to push down. You can do that with all of the chakras. The sacral is around the reproductive area, and if you thrust forward as if you were thrusting, that is flexing the sacral. If you tighten your stomach like you're doing a crunch, that is flexing your solar plexus. If you kind of compress your chest, both forward and back, that is doing it for your heart. If you go for your throat, if you take your tongue and you try to touch the tip of your uvula, which is the hangy thing, that is going to flex your throat. Your ears, if you've ever been in a plane or gone up a hill and it build the pressure in your ears, and you kind of push a little bit, that is doing it for your third eye. And your crown, now I can do this, which is moving my scalp. That is the process. Not everybody does it as effectively or as visibly as I can, but you can do it too. You can flex that. And then the divine flex is a little bit different. It is more of a compression, and you are pulling in from out without. It is more of a conceptualization, but it's kind of an all-body tense. That is flexing the divine. Those flexes move energy. When I am doing my meditative procedure out there, walking around, and I am saying my affirmations, and I am speaking aloud the things which I wish to manifest, and I embrace my greater purpose with vigor and enthusiasm, I flex all 7 of these internal and the 1 external all at the same time. The 7 internals are flexing out, right? You pull up the energy from below and you pull down the energy from above and flex them through the various points into the heart, and then express them out into your divine aura, and then compress your divine aura to meet it. That is the vigor and enthusiasm. That is expressing the energy in a very real way. And it is allowing the divine to take hold of that expression. And that is what brings forth the manifestation. Back to the text. Is it not wonderful that man has such tremendous power within himself, such transcendental faculties concerning which he had no conception? Is it not strange that we have always been taught to look for strength and power without? We have been taught to look everywhere but within, and whenever this power manifested in our lives, we were told that it was something supernatural. There are many who have come to an understanding of this wonderful power and who make serious and conscientious effort to realize health, power, and other conditions, and seem to fail. They do not seem to be able to bring the law into operation. The difficulty in nearly every case is that they are dealing with externals. They want money, power, health, and abundance, but they fail to realize that these are effects and can only come when the cause is found. Those who will give no attention to the world without will seek only to ascertain the truth, will look only for wisdom, will find that this wisdom will unfold and disclose the source of all power, that it will manifest in thought and purpose, which will create the external conditions desired. This truth will find expression in noble purpose and courageous action. Create ideals only. Give no thought to external conditions. Make the world within beautiful and opulent, and the world without will express and manifest the condition which you have made within. You will come into a realization of your power to create ideals, and these ideals will be projected into the world of effect. That is mostly true. We've already dealt with the parts that aren't, so I'm not going to continue extrapolating. We're already getting long. But for instance, a man is in debt. He will be continually thinking about the debt, concentrating on it, and as thoughts are causes, the result is that he not only fastens the debt closer to him, but actually creates more debt. He is putting the great law of attraction into operation with the usual and inevitable results. Loss leads to greater loss. This is a focus issue. If you are focused upon the negative, then you will attract the negative. One of the 8 laws of creation is the law of attraction, and that states that like will attract like. Things of a similar nature tend to cluster. So if you are focused on the debt, you will attract more debt. It is one of the fundamental laws. What then is the correct principle? Concentrate on the things you want, not on the things you don't want. What did I just say? Think of abundance. Idealize the methods and plans for putting the law of abundance into operation. That is not one of the creative laws. Visualize the condition which the law of abundance creates. This will result in manifestation. Right? And I say that that's not one of the laws of creation. There are 8 laws of creation which have been revealed to me through a direct revelatory experience. You don't have to believe that. I'm not here to convince you. I am here to tell you. This is the fundamental way that it works. That is the laws which govern karma. It is what makes the laws of manifestation happen in your favor as opposed to not in your favor. Those laws are affecting you whether you know about them or not. They are manifesting in your life whether you know about them or not. If you are focusing on the positive, then you will receive positive. If you are focusing on the negative, you will receive negative. And the intentions by which you do things matters. The laws will break that down for you in much better detail once again. If the law operates perfectly to bring about poverty, lack, and every form of limitation for those who are continually entertaining thoughts of lack and fear, it will operate with the same certainty to bring about conditions of abundance and opulence for those who entertain thoughts of courage and power. This is a difficult problem for many. We are too anxious. We manifest anxiety, fear, distress. We want to do something. We want to help. We are like a child who has just planted a seed and every 15 minutes goes out and stirs up the earth to see if it is growing. Of course, under such circumstances, the seed will never germinate. And yet, this is exactly what many of us do in the mental world. We must plant the seed and leave it undisturbed. This does not mean that we are to sit down and do nothing, and by no means will we do more and better work than we have ever done before. Oh, by no means. We will do more and better work than we have ever done before. New channels will constantly be provided, new doors will open. All that is necessary is to have an open mind and be ready to act when the opportunity comes. I am manifesting opportunities, right? I don't manifest specific opportunities. I manifest whatever opportunities are better aligned for my purpose, right? I embrace my greater purpose. I embrace responsibility for myself and others. I invest my energy into both of those and into new opportunities. I am asking for the opportunities to be presented and for me to be able to recognize them. When I say that I am manifesting opportunities, I am going to take the opportunities that are presented almost every time. Right? There are specific instances where it is not a good idea. When I tried to do Connect, it has been revealed to me that was not a great idea. And so sometimes it's not going to work out. Sometimes it will. The discernment will come later. Be prepared to seize opportunities. Something will come up and it will be unexpected and it will make you a little bit scared. That is a way to recognize that it's an opportunity. If it is possible and within the plan, take the opportunity when it presents itself. I am taking most opportunities these days. There are very few that I allow to slip by. At least knowingly, right? If I recognize them, I am trying to take them. Thought force is the most powerful means of obtaining knowledge, and if concentrated on any subject, will solve the problem. Nothing is beyond the power of human comprehension, but in order to harness thought force and make it do your bidding, work is required. We have extrapolated on that. Remember that thought is the fire which creates the steam which turns the wheel of fortune, upon which your experiences depend. Ask yourself a few questions and then reverently await the response. Prayer and meditation. Do you not now and then feel the self within you? Do you assert the self or do you follow the majority? Remember that majorities are always led, they never lead. It was the majority that fought tooth and nail against the steam engine, the power loom, and every other advance or improvement ever suggested. This is an important one to remember because there are people out here that are telling you we're on a prison planet. They're telling you that we are doomed, that things are going to be bad. Now, I believe in a bottleneck. It is part of the 12,000 year disaster cycle. I will probably forget to put that particular video up, but it is named that. There is a cycle, which I call the bottleneck of disasters. It is trackable scientifically, and it almost certainly has shaped the course of human development. I believe that there is another one coming. But outside of that particular bottleneck or your specific bottlenecks, you have the opportunity to shape your life. Part of that is going to be accepting that there are control systems. For instance, government has always been a thing. Even in the times of tribes, somebody was the chief. Even in the time of communal living, way back in the days before the states were states, they were still governments. They still made decisions for the whole, generally speaking. You will not find a society that is not structured in some way. Understanding that there will always be a control system. You get to decide whether or not to go along with the current control system. There is much debate these days about AI. AI is a tool. It can be used both for good and for bad. If we allow AI to make the decisions for us, it's probably not going to go great. But if we allow it to do the research for us so that we can make decisions, it'll probably go a little bit better. If we invest our energy into creating a control system of communism or socialism, that will enact itself, but it's not necessarily a good thing. If we invest ourselves into our republic, that's probably going to be the best option. It allows for the most amount of freedom. I dealt with that in large part in the Jones Plantation reaction, which set off people who do not like the control systems, but that is part of why I'm here. The steam engine was bound to happen. The power loom was bound to happen. AI is probably going to happen unless the bottleneck gets here first, because we are going to lose a lot in the bottleneck. Up until that point, we get to play an active part in it. We get to decide which direction we want to go. Sometimes you're going to be overridden in that, right? You may be vehemently opposed to AI. It will still roll out. Whether you're vehemently opposed to it and investing your energy or not, that is one of the bottlenecks. You get to choose whether or not to embrace it, however. Right? It's going to come out whether you want it to or not. But how much effect it has in your life is up to you. And so structure around that. Right? Understand that some things are going to happen regardless. Don't be the guy who is fighting tooth and nail against progress or against a particular control system that may be the best option. For your next exercise, visualize your friend. See him exactly as you last saw him. See the room, the furniture, recall the conversation. Now, see his face. See it distinctly. Now talk to him about some subject of mutual interest. See his expression change. Watch him smile. Can you do this? No. All right, you can. Then arouse his interest. Tell him a story of adventure. See his eyes light up with the spirit of fun or excitement. Can you do all of this? If so, your imagination is good. You are making excellent progress. And again, that is not a necessary step. It may be handy, but it is not necessary. Part 7 questions. What is visualization? The process of making mental pictures. What is the result of this method of thought? By holding the image or picture in mind, we can gradually but surely bring the thing nearer to us. We can be what we will to be. What is idealization? It is a process of visualizing or idealizing the plans which will eventually materialize in our objective world. Idealizing is closer to conceptualizing, right? When I talk about me conceptualizing, it is taking the idea and making it so. Not visualizing it because I haven't been able to do that. But I can hold the idea. I can conceptualize what I want. That is what has allowed me to be able to manifest. Why are clearness and accuracy necessary? Because seeing creates feeling, and feeling creates being. First the mental, then the emotional, then the illimitable possibilities of achievement. How are they obtained? Each repeated action renders the image more accurate than the former one. How is the material for the construction of your mental image secured? By millions of mental workers, brain cells they are called. How are the necessary conditions for bringing about the materialization of your ideal in the objective world secured? By the law of attraction, the natural law by which all conditions and experiences are brought about, and that is one of the 8 laws of creation. What 3 steps are necessary in order to bring this law into operation? Earnest desire, confident expectation, and firm demand. Those I don't necessarily disagree with. Why do many fail? Because they concentrate on loss, disease, and disaster. The law was operating perfectly. The things they fear are coming upon them. Focus on what you want. What is the alternative? Concentrate on the ideals which you desire to see manifested in your life. Man is mind, and evermore he takes the tool of thought, and, shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. James Allen. And that is going to wrap up part 7. Once again, I don't have a whole lot to add to this, so hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a series of somewhat difficult topics. I understand that I hold some unconventional beliefs, and I have a tendency to step on toes when I relay those beliefs. It is not intentional, but it is not something that I apologize for. I am here on a mission. I am embracing that mission fully. I am here to clarify for you the ability that you have to manifest things and the mechanics by which it works. I am here to clarify many different topics. Some of them through direct revelation, some of them through extrapolation of the logic of the situation. The 8 laws of creation were directly revealed to me. The chakras and how they work was directly revealed to me. Right? And by directly revealed, I mean a spiritual experience by which I was taking out of my body, and these things were relayed to me. That might have been by an entity, but I think that it was by source because I don't really deal with the entities. It is entirely possible that Michael or Gabriel did that without me calling upon them, but I never called upon them. These things have happened in my life. Everything that I talked about today is something that I have experienced. I can't give you my experience. I can relay it to you. That is what I am here for. Not to convince you, but to tell you. You can do these things. I have to assume that because I am a human and you are too. Everybody is. And so I have to assume that we all have the same capacity for this, even if it takes a different path. Right? His path was visualization. Mine was conceptualization. Those are close, right? But they are not the same thing. I didn't have the ability to visualize anything for 47 years of my life. It is only in the last, 3-4 weeks that I've been able to do anything with the mental picture. This is something completely new to me. It is something I am working on. I am working on healing that through the processes I am telling you about here. So do with it what you will. If you like what I'm doing over here, let me know down below. Give me a like, share, and a sub. Throw me a comment. And if you agree or disagree, if it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. And if there's something along these lines that you would like to see me discuss, drop it in the comments as well. I am making a list. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete, just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt's Take. Peace.